David Stevens, third generation citrus grower from the Mildura district. Family's been here since the early 1900s. We're currently in development mode of expanding our citrus operation. Citrus has come back into good heart in the last few years. We are very proud to be citrus growers, and we're looking forward to supporting the community through all our efforts over the next few years. So one of the proposed solar farms on McKay's Road is right on my boundary of property that we're currently developing. Part of my job or my career is to do economic analysis on blocks when we plant them for obviously the turnover and for the shareholders to agree or not agree on going ahead. I've done a financial analysis of the farm that we're planting here, which is 25 acres, which just so happens to be the same size as the solar farm next door to our property. The economic analysis shows that in full production we will put back into the community $540,000 per annum in packing charges, which includes boxes, freight, packing, which supports over 250 jobs throughout Sunraysia. The return to the farm will be $600,000, which will be paid out to pickers, farm costs, mortgages and all these sorts of things that supports another hundreds of jobs actually through all the fertiliser delivery, the labour delivery for the picking, the logistics, the delivery of getting bins to and from the farm, and all these sorts of things. So the economic analysis shows that it's a turnover of about 1.1 million with around about 800,000 per annum going back into the community each and every year. So that far outweighs anything that the solar people are proposing. They're proposing larger turnovers for sure, but only supporting 3 jobs. I think the council need to take a long hard look at what this proposal means to the people around them. A lot of homes are boundering on these properties, and there's the emotional effects of it all. I mean, we're already suffering the emotional effects of it, and no one's excavated a bit of dirt yet. I mean, this just shouldn't have gone this far. I'd suggest to the council there's no way that they would let a dwelling be built anywhere near the boundary of a solar farm of this magnitude. Why should they allow the development of a solar farm next to residential properties? I mean, it's just unfathomable really, and like I say, I can't believe it's got this far, and I hope that common sense prevails and that they can it, and we can just return to our lives as they were before, and we'll plant some beautiful citrus or vines on this property, which is exactly what it's there for and exactly why the infrastructure of Lower Murray Water is there for.
So I'm Sharon.
And I'm Andrew.
And we've lived here in this particular part of Birdwoodton for 18 years, but I've actually lived here for almost 60, so my parents were dried fruit blockies, and so was my grandfather before that. So we've had an association with Birdwoodton since it was first named Birdwoodton. My grandfather was a soldier settler here. Just not okay that someone can come in and build an industrial facility on prime agricultural land. We will be impacted greatly because it will be on 2 sides of our property, and initially the first panels were only going to be
1.8 metres off
our fence line,
which is only,
9 metres from our house.
Yes.
And now it's probably a little bit more than that, but not much more, maybe another 4 metres. I don't think there are any in Australia, any solar facilities next to so many residential houses on prime agricultural land. When I went to see the planning department at council and was told there's no minimum distance that the panels can be from my home, I just thought, well, that's really not okay, considering the planning scheme is a huge document, very comprehensive. It's got lots of regulations and specifications and guidelines for all the things you can and can't do, but in the solar there's no information because they weren't ready for someone to do a solar installation on agricultural land in residential areas.
And the locations appear to be purely profit driven.
And we know by seeing site maps that there's lots of solar facilities on the outskirts of Sunraysia. They're all on dry land, and they're not near residences, not near people's houses, and they're not on agricultural land. There's going to be a 1.8 metre high cyclone fence with barbed wire around it. So I guess what we'll end up with is a compound with nearly, for us, 30,000 solar panels. Is that they realise that this is just not okay for a rural residential horticultural area and make the right decision.
Okay, my name's Sam Dolfara. I live at 221 McEdward Street, Cabarita. I moved out here 15 years ago. I was a grape grower for 30 years, and I really believe that farming land should stay as farming land. Lower Murray Water spent millions of dollars upgrading all the infrastructure, and now you've got these solar panels going in, which all they're going to do is not use water, and that's good land going to waste.
I'm Mick Kelly. I live down on Mackay's Road in Birdwoodton. One part of my objection is around the Aboriginal cultural heritage. There was no consideration put in there towards that. Even people today say that the Aboriginal cultural heritage is destroyed on top of the surface through the farming practices in the past, which was clearing and installation of vines and irrigation systems. That's not to say that what's under the ground is not impacted. You've got to remember 40-odd thousand years of occupation here. There are still human remains under this ground that will potentially be disturbed by deep trenching and things like that, and I think the consideration has to be put in place around Aboriginal cultural heritage. How are they going to put the considerations in? Are they just going to tokenistic pay someone to go and say nothing's there and don't have monitors on site? They need to have monitoring happening while the trenches are taking place. The one on the end of Mackay's Road, where that's situated down in the lake, once you get close to waterways, the occupancy rate and the likelihood of finding Aboriginal cultural heritage deep in the ground is more higher likelihood, because people are living there, you know, for thousands and thousands of years. You've got to remember the softer ground is where the farming is, and that's where the old people actually buried their dead.
Relocate to solar!